Chapter 465. If the mood had struck again, Kishir and Nidar might have continued to tussle on the bed. However, Kishir seemed to have something else on his mind. Do you have other plans in mind? Resting here is fine, but it's a rare break for us. Given it's night, we could slip out unnoticed. How about a short walk? That is, if you're not too uncomfortable. That sounds good. Yudhi readily accepted the suggestion. Though he had spent all day carrying something as heavy as his arm, the strain wasn't so much that he couldn't walk. He would have agreed even if it had been daytime. Let's begin. After the meal, Yudhir sat next to Kishir, who was lying on the bed, and placed his hand on his exposed abdomen. A force he had grown somewhat accustomed to through two prior experiences began to pulse along the veins of his right hand, swelling and slowly emanating from them. The dark red veins climbed up from his hand, over his waist, and beyond the elbow. Strangely, it's smoother than before. Whether it was due to eating and resting well, he didn't know, but controlling the innate power of the redstone had never been so easy or responsive. Before long, complex energies began to manifest within Kishir's body once again. Though the jumbled nature of the energies remained, the red force that enveloped them seemed more concentrated and abundant than before. As the force encompassed the central vessel, Yudhir didn't get a negative impression but decided to inquire cautiously anyway. The energies flowing within you have all manifested. The awakener power seems to have increased in volume. Does it hurt? Not at all. As Yudhir's eyes began to gleam a bright gold, Kishir looked up and offered a faint smile. Understood. This time, I will examine whether I can manipulate this awakener energy. If something feels off, please let me know immediately. Yudhir slowly moved his hand, which was enveloped in red energy. The awakener energy located below the abdomen pulsed in rhythm with Kishir's heartbeat. As Yudhir cautiously touched the tip of it, Kishir's fingertips twitched. Dot dot dot. After a moment, the red energy began to move ever so slowly along Yudhir's fingertips. The energy following the trajectory of his finger, ascending along the skin and disappearing among other red energies that enveloped the vessel. The movement was impeccably clean. It seems I can manipulate the existing awakener energy within. He had thought it wouldn't resist, being of the same nature, and indeed it didn't. Even though he had been confident, a wave of relief washed over him after succeeding. Concentrating to that extent had made his eyes and body feel fatigued. Are you alright? Yeah, I saw the movement and there is no problem. Some finesse would still be needed, but that was a matter for time and effort to resolve. Yet, what Yudhir wanted to try wasn't over. Ignoring the sweat on his brow, excitement shone on his otherwise calm face. In that case, may I attempt one more thing? The chance of variables occurring will be much higher this time. What do you have in mind? I want to insert my own energy into the awakener energy that you possess. Your energy? Yes. After considering it for some time, I have concluded that this is the most suitable method to test for the well-being of both you and the Emperor. Within the bodies of awakeners, small amounts of energy were stored, energy that had been emitted by the redstone that influenced their world. While the amount and nature of this energy varied from person to person, Yudhir uniquely possessed its most pure form. As the mage Thayasiulman had done, separating energy and storing it within a medium for later use, it was also conceivable that this energy could move between people. The variable was that, as Yudhir had experienced, the potency of this pure energy could disrupt the balance. However, Yudhir believed that the energy stored within him had weakened to some extent through adaptation, making the experiment worth attempting. Rather than directly manipulating the energy stored in the medium separated by the thiasulman, it would be easier and less risky to try moving the energy that Yudhir could easily handle himself. After listening to all this, Kishir pondered for a moment before nodding his head. Alright, let's try it. However, he added one more condition. But to absorb the energy from elsewhere, the receiver also needs their own will and strength. Since my Awakener ability facilitates such an exchange, can we try using it together? Kishir Laor's power was either to pull something towards him or to push it away. Contemplating this, Yudhir's thoughts momentarily swirled. Can your power affect things that are intangible? Yudhir had only seen Kishir use his power to avoid injury when leaping from great heights or to ascend a tree as if walking on flat ground. To Yudhir's knowledge, in his previous life, Kishir mainly used his power to enhance physical attacks against enemies. Although it was a formidable power, it was directed at tangible objects, not intangible ones. I haven't tried it yet, but if there is a will, it's not impossible, is it? Haven't I often said the same to the other members? Kishir's smiling face sent a jolt through Yudhir's heart. After a long silence, Yudhir slowly nodded. If it starts to seem even slightly dangerous, we will stop immediately. That's what I want to hear. Good, let's begin. Both of their energies began to activate. As Kishir's power started moving, it became apparent that the energies on his body, resembling a mapped pattern, were also shifting in response. Watching the red energy smoothly fluctuate and extend, Yudhir felt as if some invisible force was drawing his hand toward Kishir. The sensation was similar to the feeling of earth pulling him back down after leaping into the air. Moving energy already inside Kishir was not the goal. Instead, Yudhir aimed to transfer his own energy to another. It felt like groping through an utter darkness with only a sense of direction. Yet, as one side pushed and the other pulled, a direction slowly became visible. Inhaling deeply, Yudhir focused on the energy that stained his red hand. If he could transfer even a small amount of the most pure energy that he had struggled for so long to assimilate, everything could change. However, the energy was reluctant to follow Kishir's pulling force. It didn't quite obey. After much effort, he was drenched in sweat. Kishir was no different, but his gaze never wavered from Yudhir for even a moment. Though he hadn't uttered a single moan, it didn't necessarily mean he was untroubled. Yudhir's face concealed an indescribable sensation, one he bore without revealing. The moment he saw those eyes, which still had quite resilience, a sudden torrent of intense emotion surged within him. What was the point of all this strength and effort if he couldn't succeed for the man who would willingly sacrifice his own body to save his last remaining kin, and for the sake of Yudhir Ale? If his body had become another conduit for the red stone, shouldn't he rightfully be able to wield its power as he pleased? He wanted to move this power. He wanted to endlessly chase after the force that Kishir so desperately called to him. Ah. The moment his agonizing thoughts concluded, a sudden surge of power tingled through the muscles of his hands and arms. A crimson energy emanating from Yudhir's fingertips swiftly spread across his shoulders, chest, and neck. The appearance was grotesque, but he didn't care. Something had finally begun to move. An unseen energy surged from Kishir's body, pulling in something akin to a tiny speck that had left Yudhir's hand, swirling it in like a vortex. Completely engrossed to the point where he didn't even feel the tingling in his swollen eyes and hands, Yudhir watched this miraculous spectacle unfold. And then, a moment later, a clump of red light, smaller than a fingernail, revealed itself as it swirled around the forces within Kishir. It was a success.